You're listening to Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. Comics, television, movies, and more. If it impacts fan culture, we have something to say about it. And now, your hosts, Jordan, Cliff, and Seth.
Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. We're glad to have you. My name is Jordan Lowe.
I'm Cliff Barnes.
I'm Seth.
If you are new to the podcast, if you just found out about us, thanks to our starring role in the local newspaper article, we got so much reach today, this week, guys. We got our name out there to the masses who still read newspapers.
I basically got the equivalent of several "you up" texts. This you? Yeah, Evan was like, "You want me to put in there about the podcast?" I was like, if I say no, I'm probably not on it anymore."
But that lends you an air of authority over on the subject of movies. We say this guy hosts a podcast that talks about movies, so yeah. You're not just some bum off the street. So yeah, right. Thank you to Mr. Evan Bevins, reporter extraordinaire, report about our local theater closing, which is bad news all around. But Seth had a quote in the newspaper. And so, yeah, if you're in the Venn diagram of people who have a newspaper subscription and people who listen to podcasts,
yeah,
we're glad to have you. Thanks for checking us out. We hope you enjoy it.
You can read the paper online also.
That's true.
That's true. Yeah. I have an app. You can read it for free.
Yep.
Sorry, Evan.
Oh, paper's gone. Just put them out of business.
This just in, Evan Bevins fired immediately.
Consorting with published material. Propaganda artists.
Digital podcasters.
That guy that just used to complain at the movie theater all the time now suddenly has a platform.
I've been having a great time I haven't had to complain forever. They've been doing a good job. And that should have been a sign of the apocalypse. Anyway, go on. What were we going to tell us, Jordan?
I said I hope you all enjoyed our previous episode, the Pooh-Bah Awards.
Wow.
That was
Just
fun
imagine
one.
The people that discovered the podcast and then they get handed the one our longest episode ever.
I'll tell you, I re-listened to it and I enjoyed it. I thought it was really well done. It was 4 hours, but I thought it moved pretty fast. I thought we covered a whole lot of ground. I was real proud of it. I was proud of that.
A tip out there, if you're not a Jesse, well, you are now, first off. That's what our people are. They're called Jessies. But if you're Jesse, you're in the know that I'm going to crank up your play speed just a little bit. I play all my podcasts at 1.25. It just kind of takes those little pauses out without making anybody sound like they're talking a million miles an hour. Jesse, our original Jesse fan, he plays everything at 2 speed, which is ridiculous. Like, that's insane. But just bumping it up just a hair.
His trained ears can pick out every note, though. He knows he doesn't miss a thing. So, yeah, we got that news since we last recorded. And re-listening to this, talking about how many we're going to see in the theater, and I don't know if I'm going to the theater. Like, we were talking about how many movies we stream instead of going to the theater, and I was just like, with hindsight now, it's like, oh my god, we didn't even know. That was our last time.
How little we knew.
Bit of blissful ignorance that we didn't even know. But
I can't believe those were the good old days.
Right. So our hometown Odyssey Theater is closing. And we got about 2 weeks notice. We got Knock at the Cabin was like the last wide release. There's a couple of, I don't know what else.
Anyone, if you're curious, we are at the end of this episode. We're going to talk about Knock at the Cabin, including spoilers. So
stage.
We're ending it with that.
So I've talked many times about all these gift certificates. I always get a gift certificate to the theater for Christmas. So I had $30-some left on a gift certificate and 2 weeks to spend it. So I'm like, oh, what am I going to get?
Wow. It's like Brewster's Millions.
Right. 80 for Brady. Me and all my friends are going to see 80 for Brady.
Run out of theater. Yeah, just get a whole thing.
So I had no plans to see Knock at the Cabin, but I got to spend this card.
Pretty much had to.
I run down. So it was a Tuesday night, anecdote alert. It was a Tuesday night showing, 9:30. So I'm like, I don't want to go home and turn back around. So I just stayed at the store till about 9, did some work. So about 9, I left, hadn't had supper yet. So I pull through, grab a Little Caesars pizza.
Right.
I'm like, I'm just going to park in the parking lot, eat a couple slices. It's America. I can do as I please. That's perfectly normal.
Yeah. You look over at the car next to you, guy's in there with the Little Caesar pizza, doing the same thing.
Yep.
Yeah. He's got the except that guy's got the batteroni or whatever that thing was called.
Yeah.
And he's like keeled over.
Yeah.
Keeled over just honking the horn with his forehead. Yeah. So that was my whole plan. I get there early enough, get my pizza, pull over into the movie theater parking lot. I park one row back because I don't want to be right.
Yeah.
Beside
a lot more people are going to see you if you're in the front row.
I made sure to get napkins. It's very greasy. Pop open the lid. They didn't cut my pizza.
At all?
No, it wasn't sliced. It was just a whole pizza. So I'm sitting there in the parking lot. Like, how do I eat this pizza?
That just became a calzone. Oh, you fold it over?
I can't pick up an entire pizza fresh out of the oven.
Just roll it up.
That's ridiculous.
I'm like, well, I've got emergency equipment in the back. I've got antifreeze and oil and jumper cables. I do not have an emergency roadside pizza cutter. So I'm gonna have to rectify that. But so I just ripped some of the crust off and I literally ate a couple handfuls of pizza that I ripped off.
That is awful. I've had that happen with a Mexican pizza from Taco Bell over the years. Somebody get lazy and didn't cut it.
So that was my last trip to the theater, most likely.
Maybe last trip to the Little Caesars.
Let's not go that far.
Yeah, there'll be some promotion that'll get you there.
Yeah, if the batteroni didn't kill him and he went back for more, then this isn't going to do it either.
Yeah.
So now we are living in a town without a movie theater.
I honestly never considered this timeline. I've told you guys before, I'm not a depressed person. I don't get, whatever chemical keeps you from being depressed, I've got it. But this is the closest I've ever been. Other than major things in my life. But this, it's like I live in a town without a movie theater. Like, wonder how long that's going to go before I move. I'm like, do I'm going to live out my days without access to a movie theater? I don't know.
Packing it up, yeah.
And you go to Athens and Columbus, you travel.
Yeah. I'm not afraid to travel, but
you don't want to have to do that for everything.
Exactly. I'm not afraid. If there's something I can't watch here, I will go other places, and I enjoy travel. That's fun for me. I like to do that. But the real travesty is, I honestly think we had the best looking screens in the state. I mean, there's no place I'd rather watch a movie than Theater 5 in Marietta. That screen is big. It's not way up in the air. It's bright, colorful. Most of the screens in there all look good, but it was just like a big screen. I could always count on it. Plenty of seats. And I could, ironically, the problem is you can often go in there and watch a movie by yourself. Maybe while they're closing, but
no lines to wait in.
But the thought of them just tearing that down, I wish, somebody could swoop in and do something before they tore it down and use, may have a private theater or something, I think this town could support a patron, supported theater but it'd work a lot better if they already had a theater there, you know.
Well, that's what my worry is the talk has been it's going to be renovated and turned into some retail establishment.
Yeah.
And if they bulldoze that and gut it, when are we ever going to get a theater? Who's going to build a theater from the ground up?
No, but we're never.
It's not going to happen. No.
That investment, I don't see that investment happening anymore.
It's not like it. Not. You know, it happened in the 80s. We just had the Colony, you know, and then, you know, there was a few years after they quit showing movies, and then we got this theater. Well, that was the 80s. That was like 80s to 90s were just freaking. Money was everywhere. We were gonna, you know, pop culture was blasting. We had theaters all over the country just booming. So that's the only reason we got one then, and just slowly died over the years. So
we've talked about, you know, the preponderance of streaming, and you know, the costs are raising. People are tightening their budget. It's, you know, a night out to movies with the whole family is not cheap. So yeah, we've talked about all this for years, but like, to actually have the outcome, it's like it feels really abrupt to me. It's like, oh no, it's just finally hitting home.
This one hurts.
Yeah, it does, and I think you know, like we said, we talked about this stuff before, but I remember going in there. I think it was within the last couple of years, and noticing the soda cups were just plain white. They were no longer, you know, they didn't say Pepsi or didn't have a you know, it used to be a Regal theater, but you know, it always had some design to it. And then I was like, huh, that's kind of weird. And then not too long ago, they always had the popcorn bucket. You could buy the bucket for a year. And for that year, you would get refills at any time for like $2 when you brought your bucket in. Well, the last time we renewed it, which wasn't that long ago, the bucket had gotten way smaller and it just said popcorn on it. And it didn't have any type of theater logos or anything. There was no graphic, but the generic, you know, thing on it. And I was just like, wow, that's kind of weird. Why did they change this? And
I just think like it really hits me like how many memories I have in that theater. Like I made a post on Facebook about it, just like really memories from the last 30 some years of going there in high school with friends to just a couple of years ago with friends, and just like all the time, all these things that I remember doing, going, you know, seeing movies and then seeing them, you know, reshown there 30 years later, seeing them with nephews and taking, you know, my kid over the years to see all these movies, and just like seeing movies with my mom, you know, who died 7 years ago today. You know, it's like all these memories in this building that's going to just be gone. Yeah. And that just is, it's hard to deal with.
I was thinking about that the last couple of days. Do you guys remember them building that building? Do you remember the construction of it?
Not really. I don't either.
I remember because I went to my parents used to take me to a lot of movies as a kid. My dad, actually at one time, both of my parents back in the day worked at the Colony.
Yeah. And
my dad used to run the projectors there. And I don't have any memory of that, but I remember going to the mall in Parkersburg.
Oh, totally.
I remember going to the town square all the time in Parkersburg.
That's why I said someone was trying to nail down when this opened. I was like, I think it was 90, because I went to town square in 89 to see Back to the Future 2, and I saw Batman 89 at the mall opening night. I was like, I wouldn't have went down there if we had this theater.
No, it wasn't opening. Well, it's so weird because I remember I have a pretty vivid memory of the first time I went there. Like I said, my cousin Jamie I was in like, I don't know, I must have been in like 5th grade or something. And I remember it was I remember it was summertime, and he stopped by the house because we lived in the same neighborhood. He was like, "Hey, let's go see a movie," because I remember the old Jeep he had at the time, and I remember driving down through there, and I was like, I can remember thinking like, "Oh, that's weird. We're not going to the mall," and then going to this theater and not even knowing it was there. Like, I have no memory of like, "Hey, we're getting a theater."
Some stupid kid.
Yeah, just a kid. But I mean, I'm talking. I'm like 11, at this time. So, but yeah, I have a very distinct memory of we went and we saw Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, and we were the only ones in there. And I just remember being like, "Wow, this is cool. We got a theater in Marietta now." And
but
then
that's just it. I'm sure they were losing money. That's happening across the country. A bunch of theaters have been closed. But like I shared a picture, I was there last week, and there was a line out a line of people. I mean, it was a bunch of older people were there. I guarantee to see that Tom Hanks auto movie that came out a couple weeks ago, and it's just like people want to go see movies. We were an older community, and they. That's just still a traditional thing. That's what you do to entertain yourselves. They don't want to sit at home and watch movies.
Yeah, the idea of not, being 10 minutes away, where I could just, there were many times where like Michael would like text me, "Hey, you want to go watch this movie?" In like 10 minutes I was there, and we're like, "Oh, okay, sure."
Yeah, that's my problem. Is a trip to the mall requires planning.
Yeah,
I got to figure out ahead of time when I'm going and what's going on. Yeah,
and that's just not going to happen for me because I don't like their theaters. The way they constructed them, they've got the screens way up on the wall like you're in a hospital room, or those weird people who put their TVs over the fireplace. I don't understand looking way up at a screen. It wasn't like that in Marietta. And the screens are all muddy. I hate those screens. So I've already been talking to the guy that runs the theaters in Athens, one of them, and I'm just like, I think that's going to be my new home theaters, having to drive 45 minutes to Athens. But hopefully hopefully they look good. So,
and obviously we don't have access to their books, or we don't know what was going on.
No,
you feel like surely you could have done, some ticket specials or more matinee showing. Like there's something you could have done rather than run your business pre-pandemic exactly like you did post-pandemic. Like and I know it's a chain. There's multiple. They have a theater in Minnesota or whatever. It's the people who run it aren't in this community, but I don't know. It just feels like you could have tried a little harder to keep this afloat. But
my thing is, who knew this? Like this. Why do we find out after you can't do anything about it? Like,
right.
Why don't you let the community know this is a reality? That
why did they sell a whole bunch of gift certificates at Christmas?
Yeah, you could have let people know, and maybe there could have been some sort of community effort to think, what could we do about this? Instead, it's just like, whatever, it's over.
Well, the reports, or at least Evan's article, kind of it sounded like they were in talks trying to negotiate a lease.
Yeah, there was time. Their lease was up, and Odyssey, not this local Odyssey, the company, their
parent company.
Well, that one's not making enough money to justify this lease with a company that is no longer, that property is no longer owned by a local realtor. Yeah. It's owned by some New York thing. So they don't care. They don't have anything to do with us. They don't care that they took our only theater.
Yeah, what is sitting on that land, as long as it makes the same amount of money.
Right.
Yeah. This is a real Flashdance scenario. Like,
yeah,
we're gonna have to go see our movies across the railroad tracks.
The bottom line is we lose. That's what it is. Marietta loses.
So I'm gonna have less to talk about as far as movies go next year's Poobah Award.
Yeah.
But luckily, guys, we can all still stream movies, right? If you have Netflix.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the other company that did it this weekend. Netflix is phasing out their password sharing, which we've talked about a long time ago, but they finally kind of put it in writing exactly what that was going to mean. And then immediately we're like, no, that's not what it means.
Yeah. They were going to say you had to log in on your home network once a month. And honestly, my first thought was, I'm just canceling Netflix. It's like there's things I watch on there, but it's this continued thing where you have to keep making more and more money and please the shareholders, right, and just run your business into the ground. And it makes no sense why they do it.
When you get to that point, we can't get any more subscribers. So how do we squeeze the subscribers we have for more?
Right. They figured they got 1 million people out there watching off of other people's. Well, there's 1 million more subscribers we could get. It's just like first thing I thought was like Netflix used to be. I mean, it was literally Netflix and chill. You were cool, Netflix. Now you're the cops. Why you want to bang on our doors and see if we got a password and we really have an account? It's like you're not cool anymore, and that you are. Once you let us know that you are not milk, bread, and eggs, that you are not a staple. You were, but people, there's a lot of streaming services out there, and when you start doing this stuff, nickel and diming us, we don't care anymore.
Especially after the last couple of years of scaling down your product and not having as many good movies and canceling beloved shows. And
they show a bunch of garbage. Like, I like some of the stuff on there, but there's nothing I have to see. Stranger Things only goes so far. Like, you don't have that all the time, but that's about all you have.
Yeah, we're living off working moms, and I mean,
it's like everybody was just paying that and going with it, and they're like, well, a lot of people weren't paying, but the thing is, you let people do this. They even made jokes about it in their advertising about sharing passwords. And the price we are paying for it, in our minds, we were paying that to share it. And now you're telling us that price is really just for us. Well, now I think it's too high. What do you think about that? Go ahead.
Well, I saw so many comment threads about this these last 2 weeks, and that's the normal thing is everyone comment, I'm just going to cancel. They say it about everything.
Yeah.
Oh, Disney, I'm never going to Disney again because of that thing I don't like. Or, that's everyone's knee-jerk reaction. But something about this feels different. I feel like people really mean it this time.
Well, it's because there was a hashtag today that went viral, bullying works. I don't like the hashtag, but this is what it's about. What did Netflix immediately say? This isn't what we meant. This is what we're going to do. And they changed the policy right away. This just happened. We talked about with the OGL and D&D. 40,000 people canceled their D&D Beyond subscription. And it makes a difference. If the people band together and say, we're not going to stand for your nickel and diming us, it makes a change. It made a huge change with the D&D thing. And they're not doing any of that garbage anymore. And Netflix changed this policy slightly. We'll see where it goes from here. But people actually choosing to speak with their wallets makes a difference.
I saw several times it was referenced in some way of like the number one thing in streaming or any of these subscription services, Patreon, that kind of stuff, is like, don't remind people they're paying. Just keep them happy, keep them watching, and they'll happily let it, charge every month. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But you've had this huge blow up, and everyone's like, yeah, that is kind of crappy of them to do. What am I'm getting 4-screen plan? Do I really need that? Like, people are starting to think about their plans. You don't want them to don't think about your plans.
I just went to the store and bought eggs, and I keep throwing them away, not eating them, but I'll keep buying them. And I'm like, but don't remind me that I'm buying eggs.
Yeah. So if you're making people think of, do I really need this? There's a lot of people going to decide they don't. To me, I feel like it is like, to me, sharing passwords to me feels like burning CDs did when I was younger. That's piracy. Don't burn CDs, that's stealing. But I only burned, I burned CDs I wasn't going to buy anyway. I'd borrow them from somebody, or was like, if I really wanted a CD, I'd buy it. I'm stealing a Netflix password. I don't need Netflix. If I needed Netflix, I would pay for it. But it's like, so yeah, everyone who is borrowing a password is not a potential customer. And that's how I always felt about music. I didn't feel like I was stealing music because it wasn't something I was going to buy anyway.
Yeah, and you were at least been exposed to that person's music, and maybe you'd buy something.
Yeah, later. Then if I did like it, I'd buy the next album they put out or whatever.
You just they lose so much goodwill if you just chill out, be cool. They forget how much just having a vibe, being considered in a positive way, even passively, does so much for your brand. As soon as you point out that you are a corporation, you can totally destroy yourself. So
they just may have.
Yeah, we will see.
But but that was the whole thing. Okay, so they have plans with multiple screens. You pay for multiple screens. You can more than one person can do at a time. So their thinking is now that means yes, but only under one roof. So a kid who's away at college, or, it's not even. So many people complaining aren't even stealing. Yeah. It's like their elderly parents. They use their account, or the kid at school, or you're at dad's house this weekend and mom's house this weekend. Like families aren't all under one roof all the time.
Right.
And I saw a thing today because I guess they've already put this through in Canada. I guess they've already. And this guy, I was on Reddit. He shared his text chain with Netflix customer service, and he is one person who lives alone, has an account for himself, but he owns a restaurant. He spends all day at work at his restaurant, and he has a TV on while he's cooking. Yeah. And he said, so what do I have to do? It's like, oh, well, you just have to log in from your home Wi-Fi once a month. And he said, well, it's a smart TV. Am I supposed to lug my TV home once a month to log on from home? He's like, no one is borrowing my password. I'm paying for one subscription, but it's not a house. I'm like, well, sorry, you're going to have to buy a second subscription. It's like for a second, he's going to have to pay. And it's like, well, then I'm canceling. I'm going to watch Disney and Amazon. Yeah. Like,
so that's what they did change.
They just don't understand how people use their product.
That's what they did immediately change. Now it's a code. And as long, that person, whoever the home is, whoever has the account is going to have to put in a password within 15 minutes. So now the whoever's using it is going to, if they want to try to watch Netflix, and it hasn't been, code hasn't been put in a month, they got to go, hey, I need that code put in 15 minutes. It's like, just an annoyance that they're creating. Yeah, this is the same. This is
the minorest of hoops like that you have to jump through gets people like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah, it really does.
In other news this week was the AMC thing where they're like, okay, now we're going to start having zones in our theater that cost more than others. The front row is going to be the cheapest, and you're going to have everybody sitting in the front row. And the center seats are going to be, go up in price. And it's like, going to the movies used to be like democratic. It was everybody had a chance to get any seat. Everybody was paying the same price, and now it's again the haves and the have-nots of where you're going to go. This is the stupidest idea. Just hate it all.
Wonder what it costs to stand in the hallway and look through the little window.
Yeah, exactly.
You can smell the popcorn.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Trade my time in to be the guy that walks up and down the aisle.
It should just be like, it should be a public service. I feel like,
yeah.
I mean, I know it's a business, but it just like, it's so close to being something that it should be a staple of being able to go watch.
Yeah.
A movie.
Stop making things more difficult.
Yeah. It's like, it should be like the library. I should be able to go to the local theater, use my movie card and go, I know it's not a realistic, but
you need to run for city council.
that important of a thing. It's still the most popular art that there is moving pictures.
That's America. Yeah. We don't export steel and cars. We export entertainment to the rest of the world. So like movie studio, what if all these theaters start closing? What are movie studios going to do if there's no way to watch their product? Like that impacts their bottom line. They can't recoup money. If I can't go to the theater, they can't recoup their opening weekend. Why aren't they opening theaters? Why isn't there, Universal Studios movie theaters in every town?
Well, whatever. I will say, like, almost to a person, people that said something to me this past week including Evan. It's like, well, I'm part of the problem. I haven't been to the theater in years. It's like everybody is saying that to me. I'm like, I believe it. I understand that movies aren't as important to everyone. The going to the theater isn't as important to everyone as it is to me and a certain demographic. But man, it's still like, I still think it's if you're going to go do something, what else are you doing? How many options are out there of things to do?
Right.
With your, I know it's more expensive the more people you have in your party, and in your family or whatever, but what else do people take their kids to do? Or go on a date. When you go on a date, what do you go do?
That was my immediate reaction to our theater closing was, living in Marietta my whole life. I'm like, as we mentioned, we have an older population, but I'm like, geez, like, what are young people supposed to do around here? Like, there's nothing. I mean, we all know if you live here that, way too large of a percentage graduate high school, go off to college and never come back, where they used to go to college and come back and have a family, and that doesn't happen anymore.
One girl I went to high school with said something about, commented about how she saw more movies at the mall, but maybe that's because that's where the go-karts were. I was like, I totally forgot about that whole thing they had down there with the go-karts and slick track and the batting cages and the mini golf, and it's just like there's nothing like that here now. It's like people went to that all the time, took their kids there all the time. That just raked it in. What happened? I mean, what made people stop, or what put that out of business? I don't know, but it's like people need someplace to go, to do something. I don't know.
Especially as our lives become more work from home, spending time on social media, like we need places to go and gather, especially young people. I think
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It's looking bleak. It's bleak. I'm trying to be positive about it. I'm trying to. I honestly, I go to the theater. I average 2 times a month. I think the last few years I've always said about my mid-20s is about how many times I've been to the theater. And, so that I go about that many times a year. I could drive to Athens a couple times a month. It won't kill me. I'm not gonna go see as many. I'm not gonna see every little thing, that I'm interested in. I can wait for, probably I'll be down to probably, high teens how many times I go,
but again, that brings up the problem of not having that local theater for the average person or average family in this town that was going to take their kids or their family or whatever to that movie, and maybe they went Tuesday nights for that $6 movie, and now they have to pay to drive an hour away, to pay more money for that ticket.
Get a $6 pizza, $6 movie. Right. Family's covered for the night.
That's what it was. But
sit in your minivan and eat your pizza.
Kids, grab the pizza cutter. Let's head out.
But yeah, this definitely skews me. Like we did our movie preview. How many are you gonna see? I had 10 or 12. Like, I was on the bubble. Shazam, for instance, the next movie coming up. I would have went on Tuesday night. Just when's it playing? Is it playing at 7:30 or 9:30? Yeah, I'll go on Tuesday. Now that it's become a thing, I have to plan and figure out. I'll just wait for HBO.
Yep.
I'm not going to see Shazam at the mall. It's just not happening.
I'm not going to see Shazam at all.
I will not see Shazam at all. I will not see Shazam at all.
I will not see the sham I am.
All right. Speaking of Shazam and DC Studios, we got some actual good news on the movie front. Since we last recorded, Mr. James Gunn put out a 5-minute video, and we got a little more elaboration from that in some articles. I checked out the Hollywood Reporter, is where all this information is coming from. So James Gunn and Peter Safran, the two heads of DC Studios, revealed the next 10 projects.
Mm-hmm.
They're calling Chapter 1 of this big DC Renaissance Gods and Monsters. So yeah, this is all old news. You've seen all this, but we might have a few opinions, so I'll let you know what they announced. Did all the stuff that was in production already, like Matt Reeves' Batman, the Todd Phillips Joker, or anything like Teen Titans Go, they're calling that Elseworlds. They're specifically saying all this stuff is outside of this new DC canon, and everything else is going to be one cohesive whole. So whether it's a TV show with an actor who will appear in a movie, if it's animated, that actor, they want to do the voice, so they want everything, rather than having a CW Arrowverse and a movie verse and a this, that, and the other. They want to have one cohesive thing. So cool. Okay, I'll take it.
I'm a little skeptical of this being a great idea, but I know that's unpopular opinion. I don't know that that's always been the best idea. I think it's for Marvel even. Like, of course, I'm a huge proponent of the Infinity Saga, but I think making everything have to tie together has hamstrung them a bit. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, that's why I'm wondering if everything leads to the next thing the way Marvel has been doing,
right?
Or if it's just all everyone knows who Amanda Waller is, or what, it's I don't know how it's going to go. Nobody knows. We'll figure it out over the next 40 years.
Yeah.
On episode 10,000 of the Pow the Pop Culture Podcast, we'll let you know how it works.
Oh, can you imagine?
So here are the 10 projects, 5 movies, 5 series, and the Hollywood Reporter put them in this order. This is the order they're coming out. So already in production is Creature Commandos, 7-episode animated series written by James Gunn.
Mm-hmm.
They have a little bit of sample art, look very stylish. This is the monsters and Frankensteins and Wolfmen and fighting in World War II, based on a weird 70s concept. So okay, out of the gate, that's where we're starting. That's okay. It could go anywhere from there. Second thing, Waller. Viola Davis reprises her role in a spinoff of Peacemaker, written by Crystal Henry, who worked on Watchmen, and Jeremy Carver, who was the creator of the Doom Patrol series. I've seen it say this is in place of Peacemaker season 2, and I've seen people say that's not confirmed yet. So
yeah, I don't think there is going to be a Peacemaker season 2.
I mean, in a way, I'm okay with not doing season 2, because I like season 1. But if that's all there is that's going to be any good, then stop while you're ahead, I guess. So.
I don't know that Waller is by herself a character that's. Yeah,
I'll be surprised that this ever.
I didn't see much on this list, to be honest with you, that I got too excited about. But there was a couple things.
All right, so number 3, Superman: Legacy.
Okay, this is where it starts to get interesting.
So this is the third thing. This is the true kickoff for the plans of this connected universe. James Gunn is writing the script and may direct. They haven't decided yet. Quote, "It's not an origin story. It focuses on Superman balancing his Kryptonian heritage with his human upbringing. He is the embodiment of truth, justice, and the American way. He is kindness in a world that thinks that kindness is old-fashioned." Set to debut July 11th, 2025. So Henry Cavill is not Superman, and James Gunn went out of his way to say he wasn't fired. We didn't not like him. He just, in his view of Superman, this is not Henry Cavill's story. It's either a younger Superman or there's something different about his Superman that Henry Cavill is just not the right actor for that part.
Right.
Which didn't go over well with us. Large
with the Snyder Bros.
I didn't want to name them lest they appear.
Oh well, we'll take all the listens we can get. Hate listen to us, please.
But again, I liked Henry Cavill fine. He seems like a cool guy. I liked this Superman, but I don't understand the hashtag only Henry Cavill can be Superman like that. Like
I told you before, he'd make a much better Beyonder.
I'm down for that. Still down for that. Marvel. Yeah, I just feel like they're projecting the Superman they imagine him to be. Was never actually on screen. It's all in their imaginations of what could be and what they hoped he was.
Yeah, he was fine as he was fine as Superman. That he wasn't the problem with those movies, I don't think so. But I mean, he wasn't so good that I can't imagine anybody else ever putting those boots on. So,
and definitely that quote about being kindness, that is definitely a trying to explicitly say we're not doing the hardcore
Snyderverse
Ayn Rand objectivist evil Superman. We're doing a fun, which CW show has done great things.
Yeah,
with a family man, good-hearted, warm Superman. It works.
Yeah.
Shockingly, the character has been around since 1938. Yeah. It works. Okay, after that, Lanterns. So Greg Berlanti had a series that was supposed to be Green Lantern Corps they've been talking about for years. That is scrapped. That is off the table. And this is a new take, very much in the vein of True Detective, featuring Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart on Earth, like they're Earth-based heroes at this point. And it, quote, plays a really big role in leading into the main story we are telling across film and TV. So whatever mystery they get into is going to have bigger repercussions in the DCU, I guess. I've never been a huge Green Lantern guy. It's a little too cosmic for me, but
me either, but we have no idea what style this is going to be. So definitely just
The only thing I found odd about it is typically you don't see a lot of Hal and John together. It's usually one or the other, or they're paired up with different Green Lanterns, but not each other. So
they're the stars that go, lead their own thing. Yeah,
right.
But I'm very much okay starting with this one or two characters rather than a Green Lantern Corps where there's 50 characters. Or what the movie tried that. The Ryan Reynolds movie tried to throw in 1,000 years of continuity in 2 hours. Like that's fine. Let's start small.
Absolutely.
Start on Earth with 2 characters. Good.
Yes, I like it.
All right. After that, The Authority, a movie based on the extreme 1990s Wildstorm team.
This sounds like a Jesse product. This seems like any 90s thing here. He's probably loving it.
So this debuted when Wildstorm was not part of DC, and it was basically not spoof, but it was a takeoff on the Justice League. Midnighter was Batman, Apollo was Superman, and it was all these characters. Like, what would an edgy, more realistic Justice League do in a world where it wasn't black and white and the heroes might kill or bad things might happen in a more gritty 90s extreme way? So now DC owns all these characters, and now they're just DC characters. So they were commenting on the decades worth of DC stories. Now they are part of DC stories. But this is the quote where Gunn said, quote, "Not every film and TV show is going to be about good guy versus bad guy. Giant things from the sky come and good guy wins. There are white hats, black hats, and gray hats." And Safran said, "They are kind of like Jack Nicholson and A Few Good Men. They know that you want them on that wall." So these are the morally ambiguous heroes that maybe the Snyder Bros will win them back with The Authority.
Yeah, they'll love this.
Everything will be shot in slow motion.
That just makes me want to watch A Few Good Men.
All right. After that, Paradise Lost. This is an HBO Max prequel to the Wonder Woman.
That's a great HBO documentary.
They called it a Game of Thrones style drama set on Themyscira. So this is a way that we're not recasting Gal Gadot. This is a prequel. She wasn't even around yet. So we're going to get some Amazons.
The mascara.
Tierra Mascara.
Tierra Mascara. That's right. That's what it was. Tierra Mascara.
That's a throwback.
But yeah, I feel like every show that wants to be the next Game of Thrones has not been the next Game of Thrones.
No.
You can't say it. You can't say we're the next Game of Thrones. Oh, you blew it.
So after that, Brave and the Bold.
There we go. This was one that sounded good to me.
The introduction of a new Batman and his son Damian Wayne, calling it a, quote, very strange father and son story. So this is based on Grant Morrison brought Damian in as the new youngest Robin, who is Bruce's son. So we're going to get recast. We're going to get a whole brand new story.
I'm actually like, I like this character. I don't know that I've ever liked necessarily what they did with it in the comics, but I'd like to see something else done with that character. Like it's just assassin type Robin, like the way harder edged.
Yeah.
But it's his actual son, like there's a lot they could do with that.
Yeah, I always enjoyed when after that when Bruce was dead and Nightwing became Batman and teamed up with
Damian.
You
were better when you were dead.
Yeah.
I always liked when he was dead.
I did. I like that.
No, that was having Dick Grayson.
Yeah.
The perfect son, and Damian, the little Hellraiser son.
The little a-hole. Trying to kill everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. So it makes me. I don't know what direction they'll really go with that, but that's an exciting.
Either way, it's yes.
Yeah.
As long as I don't have to watch that Thomas Wayne and Martha Wayne getting killed in the alley again. God.
It seems like we're jumping right into the story. There already probably has been a Nightwing and a Batgirl. Like there's already a Bat family. We're not setting all that up, so I'm okay with that. All right, after that, we've all been waiting for Booster Gold, another HBO Max comedic series.
This is way up there. If I was a DC guy, this would definitely be where I would lean. This time travel.
I don't care about any of the other crap. This just make this. Do it right. Yeah.
I think casting is going to be a big deal. Like it's going to be hard to get the perfect guy that
you're naturally not going to like him. Yeah, because he's not going to be likable anyway.
Right. You want somebody that's watchable but not lovable, maybe. Yeah.
I don't know who they're going to get. Like this intrigues me. It was always Nathan Fillion, but now he's too old.
Yeah.
It was always felt like the right guy because he can be that kind of boisterous guy, but also extremely likable.
Yeah.
So it can't be him now, but who is the equivalent of him? Or are they going to go like create a new star like Marvel created all those,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I wouldn't want someone like a Joel McHale or this real smarmy, like Motormouth Ryan Reynolds type. Like that's kind of his character, but not really. You want him to be he's dumb. He's a dumb loudmouth, but he's also a hero at his core. He is eventually trying to do the right thing, but they called it imposter syndrome as superhero. So this is a nobody from the future with technology we don't have yet, comes back in time. So he's going to, trying to pass himself off as a great hero, even though he knows what he really is.
Oh, it's going to be great. He fails. He meets Max Lord. He gets into the Justice League. It's going to be great. Blue Beetle, JLI. I mean, you could do it for years and years. Then we get into the time, the heavy duty, the time travel stuff and going back through all those DC stories and hitting every one of them. And it's going to be great.
Is this Blue Beetle that's coming out supposed to be part of all this?
I don't think so.
Because I don't think that kid is.
That was happening way before any of this was announced.
I don't know if that's getting the official Elseworlds label or if it's just like it'll be done before we get to all this. I don't know.
I bet it has a little bit to do with how that guy is received. You know, if he does a good job or not.
Yeah.
There was some quote saying, because we've still got Ezra Miller on the fence, we've still got Jason Momoa. Like it was saying something like the door's not closed for these characters or actors, but I don't know. It's a lot of it's going to depend on how much money it makes and what the fans tweet about.
Right.
All right, so number 9, we're almost done. Supergirl: Woman of Tomorrow.
I'm into it.
Yeah.
Based on the recent Tom King written miniseries, art by Bilquis Everly. He said, quote, "This is a much more hardcore and not the Supergirl we're used to. Raised on a rock, a chip off of Krypton, and who watched everyone around her die and be killed in terrible ways for the first 14 years of her life. So this isn't sweet CW Kara Supergirl. This is more of a fighter." And that series, Woman of Tomorrow, was excellent. That's one of the best books that came out in the past few years. It is True Grit. The plot is exactly True Grit, but in space. It's a young girl on a backwards planet. Her dad is killed by some intergalactic ne'er-do-well, and she's going to go kill him. And Kara's like, "You probably shouldn't do that." And she's like, "Well, you can't stop me." So they just kind of team up and go together. And each issue was a different stop along their way on their path to find this guy. And it's Kara learning lessons and the young girl learning lessons. It's just, again, Tom King is very hit or miss for me, but that series was excellent. And it's sold out everywhere. You can't get it until April. So hang on. New printing is coming in April. You can get that series. And number 10, closing out this first part of this first chapter, Swamp Thing. Horror movie about the Swamp Thing.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about this. I feel like we just tried this when they started the HBO shows just a few years ago. So I don't know. I don't have anything against Swamp Thing, but I'm just surprised they so quickly.
Yeah, it would have to really surprise me. Like, I'm just not into it, but who knows? I'm open to all this stuff. Just depends how it's executed. It's exciting.
What if Heather Locklear showed up?
As exciting as it is to have James Gunn in charge of all this stuff, I don't want a bunch of Suicide Squads. And I'm a little nervous about that. Which is what Peacemaker is that. That whole show is just another Suicide Squad. It's just like, I'm not up for 10 shows or movies about misfits, and I'm just not into it.
I saw a quote addressing exactly that, where he said, "This isn't the Gunverse." He's like, "This isn't all my voice and my take. They've assembled a writer's room. They've assembled a whole bunch of people with different ideas, and they're picking and choosing not just James Gunn's personality, but they're going to try to have a wide breadth." So I feel like they're at least addressing all this stuff that we're worried about.
But let's not go too far. Like, I mean, if James Gunn wanted to do a Justice League International team of misfits, including Booster Gold, the Blue Beetle Ted Kord, Fire and Ice, Martian Manhunter, Batman, like, that would be okay. Guy Gardner, I mean, that's the one exception here that could be made.
Cliff is here for it.
I'll allow it.
And just saw an article today about everything mentioned in this has been huge on the back issue market, the digital market. Like, James Gunn led saying, here are the stories these are based on. Now, okay, Supergirl is a direct adaptation of a story. So maybe Brave and the Bold is more, it's a takeoff from Grant Morrison. So he mentioned the Grant Morrison books. He showed Alan Moore's Swamp Thing. I'm sure it's not a direct adaptation, but
right.
Putting first and foremost, like, these are the core of these stories, which again should make a fan feel better. Like, okay, at least they're starting with the good source material, but it gives a newer person, like, Marvel has never done that in all these years. Marvel has never made a concentrated direct push at, here are the comics you should be reading. They will occasionally have a throwaway thing here or there, but they've already done more for DC Comics in the last 2 weeks than Marvel has in 20 years.
And
it was so simple. Just show some covers and.
Right. Yeah, Gunn is a lifelong comic book fan. He's made some really, really, really excellent movies we all love. To not give him the benefit of the doubt is just being a Snyder bro. That is just I don't like this one thing I feel personally affronted by. So my hopes are up. I don't see any reason most of these shouldn't work. I'm not going to assume they're all going to be blockbusters, but
I can't wait till you get to see him at home.
Oh, wow.
That does it. Or does that do it?
Unless there's any other movie information anyone has.
I don't have anything other than just talking about that movie.
All right. So from here on out, we are going to spoil M. Night Shyamalan's latest Knock at the Cabin.
We may start with a little bit of a synopsis, non-spoiler. We'll it ain't gonna take long. We're gonna have to get into the nitty-gritty. So let's drop that trailer.
Hi there. Can I talk to you for a little bit?
You have to come inside right now. There were 4 of them.
What do we say? You shouldn't make things up when we're talking about...
Can you open the door, please?
They're breaking in! How could you be?
We're not here to hurt you, but you have to stay here in the cabin with us. Families throughout history have been chosen to make this decision. Your family must choose to willingly sacrifice one of the 3 of you to prevent the apocalypse.
We're not sacrificing anyone.
For every no you give us, hundreds of thousands of people are going to die.
It's really happening.
Sweetheart, close your eyes.
Will you make a choice?
You have to somehow trust us.
We're normal people just like you.
It doesn't matter. None of us believe you.
We will never choose anyone.
When? I'm afraid the rule is that no one's allowed to leave until you choose.
Do you really think it's all just a coincidence?
I have to believe that.
My son is gonna die.
His name is Charlie.
As a mother, I am begging you.
You're the only one who can stop this. Andrew, I saw something. There was something in the light. I feel it now.
So, I have had a lot of feelings about this movie, Jordan. I saw you watched it, so I was super happy to see that, but not because I wished it on you or anything. I was like, I wanted somebody to talk about it with, because I've been thinking about it for over a week. I just can't. I didn't necessarily enjoy the process of watching, but let's lay it out here. Basically, the plot. It's based on the book Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay. Came out a few years ago. Apparently, M. Night immediately jumped on buying the rights. But before the book even came out, actually, he bought the rights to make this movie.
Because it's a perfect M. Night setup.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a movie perfectly for him.
But the setup is like this family, gay couple and their adopted child go on a vacation. They're at some cabin, and these 4 people show up inexplicably to ask them to do something. They have to do something. These particular people have to do something to save the world, and that we don't know what it is or whatever. I had only seen the first preview. I desperately did not see anything after that, or I probably would have enjoyed the movie even less than I did.
And to me, it's a great setup. It's a Twilight Zone perfect thing of a big scary guy shows up at your door and says, I don't really want to be here. I don't want to do this. But wow, okay, what a perfect vehicle for a compelling story.
Yeah.
But my history with Shyamalan is, after he broke out of the gate and made some all-time classic movies, it's been diminishing returns since. I think he is a brilliant visual director. I think his movies look like nothing else you ever see, but he just hasn't wowed me in his last half dozen or more movies. So I will always watch them because I keep wanting him to recapture that. So I went into this without hope. I knew what I assumed what I was getting already. I assumed what I was getting when I went into it. A pretty film that wouldn't do much for me. So
yeah. Well, I saw it at the mall, so it was muddy. That didn't help anything. It was just like a gray movie. But I guess we're going to start getting into spoilers right away from this point on. I think my biggest complaint is that right off the bat was that everything played out exactly as expected. The twist is there's no twist. They come, they say, we have been getting these visions, and all 4 of us, obviously the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, version of these people, and they have come to tell you, we know that the world's going to end if you do not sacrifice one of your family, and you have to choose.
We can't do it, and
here's the rules.
They can't kill. Yeah, there's all these specific.
I like rules. Okay, I need to know how this played out. You got we can't do it. It can't be an accident. You have to choose one of you, and
they can't do it themselves.
So, of course they're skeptical about this and think they're crazy. And then to prove it further, these people have, as they turn them down one by one, they kill one of themselves, sacrificing one of themselves to basically just prove to them how serious they are about it. Like we're going to kill them, and then one of these atrocities are going to be unleashed on the earth, like one of these plagues that we have seen in our visions. Once one of us dies, one of them is going to be released. And what was the first thing that happened?
Tsunamis.
Tsunamis. You can see some footage. These people at the beach in what's like in Seattle or somewhere there, and you see these huge waves, 50-foot waves coming and just going to destroy. Which first thing that was annoying. Why didn't he make that look like it was like Instagram Live or something to just explain that footage? It's like he funds his movies. He has basically full creative control, and I don't always agree with his decisions, but that was just a minor thing that annoyed me. But that happens. We find out that one of the people, the captives, one of the dads, he knows this guy, one of these 4 people, as a guy that had beat him up in a gay bashing thing when they were in a bar, years ago. That guy's been in jail for it, and he believes that it's him anyway, and he has basically greatly affected his life ever since then. He's been like working out and boxing and just dwelling on that all this time. It seemed like such a odd thing that this is one of the people, but it's supposed to give some doubt to why this is.
That's
happening.
what I thought. We revealed the one is the connect. Okay, well, how are all the others connected?
Yeah,
and it wasn't. It's like, okay, no. I didn't get why they had to make the one without the others.
Yeah, it was. Well, apparently that's how it is in the book, and it's it's just, I assume, to give doubt as to why, if this is just because they think they're being targeted, because of the them being a gay couple with and they're like, no, it never even crossed our minds. Well, obviously, if this guy used to be that type of person, it could be part of the problem, So they're still skeptical, but then they showed them the news, which is another huge gripe I have about this. M. Night has never hit. A lot of his movies have had newscasts on them, and they always look fake. It's like, go get Wolf Blitzer or Don Lemon or Anderson Cooper, get somebody and make it look like Now I do like to, when I watch a movie, assume that the director has a reason for why they do the things they do. So again, it leads me to think, by being a fake looking newscast right off the bat, it again leaves more doubt.
Right.
And they make a comment about, well, you're piping this in or something. You put this here. It's not real. But it's so short-lived, that they doubt it's happening. It's not that they doubt this is happening. They believe it. They just don't believe that they can stop it. We have crises every day in this world. It doesn't mean we can stop it by killing ourselves.
That's the sense I get from the review I read and some of the comments, where the book is a lot more ambiguous as, is this really happening?
Oh, okay.
Whereas the movie is very straightforward. It's like, I never had any doubt. It was obviously happening.
Right.
And I went into it thinking it's going to be, maybe there'll be, no, it's obviously happening.
That's what I'm saying. It's like,
can they convince this couple to do this? And I feel like, I don't know, I haven't read the book, but it seems like the book's a little more, it leaves it up to the reader. Was this real or not?
And doesn't that feel like an M. Night movie? Like, that's what he would do normally. So as I'm watching this, I'm like, that's not, how is this not going to be what it looks like? And it just is the whole movie. It is always what it looks like. And that just really bummed me out. Not everything has to have a twist, but it has to have something that makes it, recontextualizes things, especially with him. I expect him to have chosen something that, so the fact that he didn't do what the book does, kind of, I feel like I bet that the author, is not super loving exactly how it was done. But anyway, but it plays out exactly like that. Everybody, they continually, one after the other, have to kill off another one of these four horsemen, and and release another plague. What I don't remember the second one.
Virus or pandemic.
There was a virus, and I think the third one was like planes falling from the sky.
Yeah.
And they're seeing footage on the TV of this happening on this fake looking news channel, but you can see the planes falling. It's happening. That again, they're not doubting it. They're just don't ever. But the one guy has been hit in the head, so his perspective is questionable to his husband. So, but he sees something in a reflection. So you don't know whether it has something to do with his head injury or whether he actually sees something to feel like this is legitimate, that they can control this. I don't know. I kept waiting to see where they were going with this. And
so are you trying to convince yourself you liked it better than your initial thought, or are you trying to convince yourself it was even worse than your initial thought?
Well, I got okay. I don't know your reading of the movie.
I thought it was fine. I said going in what I expected. It gave me what I expected. I liked how it was shot. I like all the real tight close-ups. Like he did a lot with what little space he had, and it was emotional. That third act was like there was some emotional payoff to it. So it was what I expected and enough for me. It was good enough. I didn't love it, but it wasn't terrible. Then I read some reviews that are it's genius, and other reviews it was horrible. So whatever.
Well, when it got to the end, and ultimately that guy who had the head injury, he Jonathan Groff, is that his name? He said, he's like, I think I believe them, and go ahead and kill me, and let's save the world, basically. Because the alternative is if they don't do it, everybody in the world dies except them, and they walk the world like what they say in Pulp Fiction?
Like Kane and Kung Fu. Yeah. Well, you can tell I'm not a parent because I was like, just kill the kid. You could go adopt another one. So obviously I'm not a parent, but
wow, wow. Yes, obviously. They picked the cutest kid.
She is adorable.
Expressly for that purpose. So even your cold heart could not go down that path. But so he does. That guy dies. And the other dad and the girl go get in the vehicle we had that moment where they're on their way there. You see it in the preview. There's listen to Boogie Shoes, and the three of them are dancing in the car, and just like this is their family they've created, and so great. And well, first off, I want to say, like, it didn't, this movie is pretty obvious allegory for the Catholic Church hating on gay couples, and especially gay couples adopting children. And the whole message is basically somebody's got to pay for this. This is a manifestation of that. So, the people sinned, and we had God wash the earth of them, So this is just another thing. Like you're going to have this gay relationship, and you're going to adopt a child. On top of that, we can't, there's been things for years they hate that. Not all of everybody, but there is a huge contingent that they're so scared of gay couples raising children. So this is what this is about. Somebody has to pay for that. You have to pay for this. It's not about them living in this cabin. They happen to be the people in the cabin. It is they are the people that are going to pay for this to make this stop. And this God's not going to be happy unless one of you pays a price. And so when the guy lets that happen, they go out and end up, it fixes everything. Just like I said, it plays out exactly as you think. One of them dies, and yes, they solved it. The plane stopped falling. The virus is cured, everything. And those two get in the truck, and I did think this was a sweet moment. The start the truck up, and that song is playing, which, oh, what a crazy coincidence, this song's playing, and the dad immediately shuts it off. Well, then the little girl turns the radio back on and listens to it for a minute, and then she kind of feels guilty about it and turns it off. And then the moment when the dad kind of realizes, no, I can't let this be this for her. We're allowed to be happy and remember this guy, and turns the radio back on, and they listen to it. Well, that's all sweet and stuff, but why did he do this? Why did M. Night do all this? And he's famously religious. Like, Signs is clearly a religious movie. I think it's not supposed to be a coincidence. It's supposed to be like,
I'm okay
that guy
in the next life.
Yeah.
Go on, live your life, be happy.
Yeah. And so what I want to know is why he changed the ending, because the book has a more satisfying ending to me as far as dealing with that whole church against the gays allegory. In the book, the rules are broken. The girl is killed by an accidental, they're fighting over the gun or something and accidentally shoot the daughter, and she dies. But that doesn't count because according to the rules, it can't be accidental. You have to have done it on purpose. And the guy's kind of at that point, I haven't read it, but I read an article saying I wanted to know what happened in the book. And it said, the guys are like, well, that's it. They're kind of like, what is good enough for your God type thing? Screw you. We're going to walk the earth and be happy, together. And kind of like, I like that much better. It's like, well, we have to do all these things to make you happy, this church, to make you comfortable. We have to give up something. It has to be according to your rules.
And the children suffer. Right.
Yeah, exactly. And I just think that would have been such a better ending. Why did you go, is it something where he is too... I can't believe he picked the movie if he's this Christian guy.
That makes more sense of the comments I was reading. People were debating this who were trying to not spoil the book. And it was like, they're saying, why pick something to adapt and then change the whole point of it?
Right. Like, is it because of his religion?
Your movies, you're allowed to say what you're allowed to have your point of view, but why pick a book that has the exact opposite of your point of view?
Yeah. I don't know.
But you can't have a major Hollywood release where you kill a kid in the third act and it's then it's a down. Like that doesn't work for movie studios. So
yeah. Anyway, I've been thinking about that all week. Why did he do what he did? Why did he choose to do what he did with that story?
I hadn't really thought that deeply about it, but yeah, like my thinking is I want it to just, they're a gay couple because they're a gay couple. Who cares? That's just available now in Hollywood.
Right.
But we're not to that point yet. It has to mean something. At this point, it still means something. So I saw some review was like, oh, so you have to sacrifice your gayness to have society. Like people were taking it that way, whether it was intended or not.
Right.
So we're not to the point where it can just be incidental. So the gayness is at least part of the point. And he brought that up in the plot that they're worrying about. They're targeted because these are gay bashers. It's not incidental. There's a meaning to it all, but I can't tell you exactly what his intention could have been.
Yeah, I think that he, that it seems like, I don't know. I feel like he picked the story to clean it up. Like he didn't like what it said. And he's like,
put a happy ending on the apocalypse.
Yeah, I'm going to change this up a little bit, make it be, exactly. Anyway, whatever. I just want to get that out.
But I thought this was crazy that this movie came out within a week of The Last of Us episode 3 that people were crowing about. It was a gay love story at the end of the world. Like have these two very large pop culture moments of gay romance in genre fiction within a week of each other was kind of crazy.
Yeah. Maybe we'll talk about that on TV episodes.
And I also think, like, if movies are still around in 20 years, we're going to definitely look back at this period of like this pandemic filmmaking of having a small cast in one setting for like everyone's making movies like this. And we're in a real era right now. It's
totally could have been a play.
Yeah. It's hard to see that since we're in it, but like people are choosing these projects based on how do you film it safely during a pandemic? And I don't know. It's just going to be when we look back on this era, it's like, yeah, there were so many movies that just had 4 people in one room.
Yeah. That's all I got.
All right, that does it for your spoilers. Thanks for hanging out with us. We hope we took some good, we took some bad.
Take them both, and there you got facts of life.
The facts of life.
That's it for this episode. Come back soon. We'll have more. My name is Jordan Luck.
I'm Cliff Barnes.
I'm Seth. Goodbye forever.
I didn't know what that song was. I was like, what is that? Makes me good. I knew it was good. Something.
It's good. Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast, is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Sounds, music, and clips played during the podcast are property of copyright holders. All original content is property of www.udownwithkpp.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and leave a comment. Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast, can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be found. You can connect with us through social media on Facebook, YouTube, at the Ka-Pow Podcast on Twitter, or email the show, Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast at gmail.com. If you really want to go the extra mile, join our Patreon at patreon.com/udownwithkpp for special content and access to Patreon-only benefits. We are grateful for anyone who chooses to contribute, but please know that most of our content will remain free. So please continue to like, comment, and share.